Hi guys, welcome to Multiverse. Today we're going to take a look at our friend Mr. Miracle. Basically, there's two ways you can recreate a pretty good approximation of Mr. Miracle in this universe online. Well, there's probably more than two ways, but today we're going to take a look at two ways. If you can find more ways, even better. If you do find better options, feel free to mention so in the comment section down below. It's always appreciated. So let's take a look at what our character looks like, and we'll take a look at each pieces of style individually afterwards. So as you can see, you can recreate a pretty good approximation of our friend Mr. Miracle. And all the stuff you see here is fairly easy to obtain early on. The hardest part is probably the belt, and even then there's two or three other options you could use. So if this belt somehow, the same with the boots. For the belt and the boots, use anything you prefer. This is just a suggestion for being able to recreate Mr. Miracle early on. So let's take a quick look at the various styles that you need to pull off our little guy. Sometimes people wonder which color I'm using, so let's take a quick look. So basically F2000 or 20,000, 10 was missing. For the green, 034900. For the black, I'm not using the black at all. And for the yellow, F0FF00. So as you can see, the color is pretty easy to reproduce. And let's take a look at the style. For the headpiece, I went with the partial cross. It's about the closest piece we can get to recreating our friend Mr. Miracle. And for the face, basically I colored the face yellow. So normally the partial cross is open at the face, but by putting the skin yellow, it actually recreates a good approximation of Mr. Miracle's style. There's a lot of versions where I saw sometimes he has some red around the eyes, sometimes he does not. In this case, I went with the full domino to sort of recreate some red around the eyes, and I kind of like the way it looks like that. For the hands, I went with the classic rivets. Basically, we needed some gloves that had that yellow dot on the gloves. For the waist, I went with the Greco-Roman. Basically, I wanted to have a white belt, but I wanted to have also those yellow circles on the belt. There's probably two or three other belts that could do the trick. Again, use the belt you prefer, or use the belt that you can actually get, if somehow you cannot get the Greco-Roman belt. For the feet, I went with the Egyptian feet. Again, I was trying to find boots that would give me that yellow circle at the top of the boots, and sadly, this is about as close as I was able to get. For the chest piece, I went with the reverse slimline. There's probably other chest pieces you could have gone with, but this is the one I chose. Basically, it allows my character to have like the top red and the bottom part of the chest piece yellow. Again, there's maybe the only thing is that the red is maybe a little too high on the character. It should probably be a bit lower. But again, with the styles, the options we have for the styles, that was a good approximation of Mr. Miracle. Again, there might be another style I'm not thinking of, but for a long time this was the style that I was using to give a Mr. Miracle-like look to my character. For the pants, obviously the New Genesis pants are perfect for that. And for the back piece, I went with the Miraculous Cape. As you can see, there's also the Miraculous period without the cape. We're going to take a look at that in just a minute. For the Miraculous Cape, if you're looking for how to get the Miraculous Cape, I have a video specifically with that cape. I will try to put a link of that video at the end of this video. But if for some reason there's no link for reasons, just search Miraculous Cape in all my videos, and you should be able to find it. So that's the first option to recreate the look of Mr. Miracle and this universe online. Now let's take a look at the second option that we have. At some point, they added an actual official Mr. Miracle set of gear in this universe online. Although it's not quite like the classic Mr. Miracle look, it's more like, it reminds me more of the look that the character had in the 90s. So let's take a quick look at our little friend here. And afterwards, I'm going to show you where can you get the Mr. Miracle style. It's actually a set of gear. It's not just a style, but it's a tier 6 set of gear. It's like mid tier 6 sort of. So by the time you're past the tier 6, sadly the gear will not be very useful for your character. All you're going to want for your character is the style. But this is pretty much what it looks like. So where can you get that style? We're going to go take a look. And in order to do that, I'm going to go to the watchtower. So let's go. So I know that there are people who still get lost in the watchtower. So to make sure that people know where to go, we're going to start where we actually spawn when we go to the watchtower. So from here, let's get started. Ironically enough, it's not the vendor that is right next to Mr. Miracle. Like you can see over here, we have our friend Mr. Miracle, the one and only Mr. Miracle. You can see the distinction between the set of Mr. Miracle gear we have and the official Mr. Miracle. Ironically enough, again, the classic look looks a bit more like the first look I showed you. But for the look itself, we have to go to New Genesis right over here. Like there's this little vendor over here, but he's not selling the Mr. Miracle gear. He's selling some insect type kind of gear. If you want the official Mr. Miracle gear, you have to go to New Genesis. So let's go. So once you get to New Genesis, you see the quest givers right there. You see our friend Orion over there. And just behind, there's this little fella here. He's the one who's actually selling the Mr. Miracle gear. So you can see this style is called the Miraculous style. And this is where you can purchase the official Mr. Miracle set of gear. If you look at the top of the vendor, you're going to see the DPS gear. If you go a little further down, you're going to see the controller gear. If you're a controller, you're going to see the controller gear. If you're a healer, you're going to see the healer gear. And if you're a tank, you're going to see the tank gear. Pretty much like most of the vendors in the watchtower. And if you keep going down, actually there's not really anything you can purchase. So you can see you can purchase the gear and you can also purchase weapons. So that's pretty much it for our Mr. Miracle video. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask so in the comment section down below, and I'll see what I can do about answering your questions. So again, basically, there's a version of Mr. Miracle that you can recreate pretty early on in this universe online. The hardest part will probably be to be able to get all the collections for the Miraculous Cape. But once you reach tier 6, and I think you have to be combat rating 111, if I'm not mistaken, to gain access to New Genesis. So once you gain access to New Genesis, you can start purchasing the official Mr. Miracle set of gear. So that's pretty much it for now, guys. So as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.